Prologue 2. The Loyal Disciple. The courtyard of the Temple of the Sun had a single occupant in the pre-dawn hours of the day. A young Pegasus mare busied herself with scouring it clean with a well-worn broom held in her hooves. Now and again she'd softly sigh and pause in her work, casting a longing glance back toward the dormitories shared by her sleeping fellows. So she might have, maybe, kinda knocked one of the other acolytes out. She knocked one of the older acolytes out. She was asking for it. Every pony knew you didn't give Sister Dash a hard time. Even the older clerics had a tendency to give her a wide berth. Every now and again, one of the more senior acolytes would get it into their head that Dash was a little too full of herself and take it upon themselves to knock her down a peg. Such encounters usually ended with the other pony missing a few teeth. "Stupid Cloud kicker. I'll kick her, Cloud." The mare frowned suddenly. "Pony feathers. I should have said that." Rainbow Dash, when I assigned you early morning chores as punishment, it wasn't with the intent for you to come up with snappy one-liners the next time you send one of your fellows to the infirmary. Dash's ears splayed at the voice of the Reverend Mother coming from behind her, peeking over her shoulder, almost praying to the divine mare herself that it was any pony but her. Of course the formidable unicorn mare, who was the head of the entire church, was eyeing her with faint amusement dancing in her eyes. There was absolutely no pony in the world that could make Dash feel like a dumb filly like the Reverend Mother. "Sorry, ma'am." The Reverend Mother was an older mare, well into her 60s by Dash's reckoning. To the young mare she'd always seemed as powerful and intimidating as the divine mare, but she was also just as warm and approachable. The amulet she wore magically altered her coat colour to a pristine white, while her mane and tail were a golden yellow. Every disciple of the sun's holy symbol had the same effects, even Rainbow Dash's. She couldn't actually remember the last time she'd seen her natural colours. "How have the meditation exercises been going?" Despite the older mare's casual tone, Dash knew she was looking for a specific answer. She could only sigh softly. "Lousy. I try. I really do. But there's always something, distracting you." Rainbow Dash lowered her head, sighing softly. "Yes, ma'am." The mare who raised Rainbow Dash the last 10 years settled herself comfortably on the ground, smoothing her fine pastel rainbow-hued robes out beneath herself. "Would you like to talk about it?" Noting Rainbow Dash beginning to relax, she quickly added, "While you finish your penance?" Snorting softly, Dash went back to her sweeping. "It's the same thing as always. I just feel cooped up, stuck in the temple all the time doing chores or preparing meals for the egg." She halted at the Reverend Mother's sharp look. "Students in the academy. I want to get out. I want to be a warrior cleric, Mum." The Reverend Mother's gaze softened at Dash's familiar tone. "I know, Dashy, but we've talked about this. I'm just not sure if it's a good idea for you to be putting yourself in situations where violence is going to come up frequently." "I get into fights all the time here, though." "Rainbow Dash, the tenants?" The elder mare sighed reproachfully. Dash's ears splayed, and she lowered her head. "Honesty is the first step along the path of harmony. When we're honest with others and ourselves, they will be honest with us. Loyalty is the second step along the path of harmony. We must strive to be loyal to the Divine Lady and to our fellow pony." The Reverend Mother smiled, just a touch, seeing much of the tenseness ease from Rainbow Dash's frame. "Generosity is the third step along the path of harmony. Always be generous with all we can give, and life will be generous to us in return. Kindness is the fourth step in the path of harmony. Be ever kind to others, and they will be kind to you." The head of the temple smiled with no small amount of pride at the growing conviction in the young mare's voice. "Laughter is the fifth step along the path of harmony. Hold laughter in your heart and the world will be filled with joy. Magic is the final step along the path of harmony. It's the force that binds every pony together. As Dash finished, she sighed softly, with a small smile played upon her muzzle. Thanks, Mum. In the future, Rainbow Dash, when you get upset, just close your eyes and try to tune out the offending voices. Recite the tenets in your mind. Speaking them aloud always relaxes you. In fact, just chant them aloud to yourself if it might help. Looking much more at ease now, Rainbow Dash nodded. Yes, Reverend Mother, thank you. Any time, Rainbow Dash, any time. The elder of the pair turned to leave, her adopted daughter walking at her side. Get back to your sweeping, Rainbow Dash. Dash's wings slumped. Pony feathers. Rainbow Dash clustered in with the other acolytes for the sun-raising ceremony after morning meal. Her fellow brothers and sisters of the sun chatted animatedly with one another, typically avoiding the incredibly volatile young mare. She prepared it this way, however, when no pony was around her, no pony was provoking her anger. The Reverend Mother herself intoned the morning prayers, giving thanks to the Divine Lady for bringing forth the sun and wishing her a fine and happy day. Dash chanted the prayer along with her fellows, some of them less enthusiastically. To Rainbow Dash, prayer wasn't just another chore she needed to get through like so many of her fellows thought of it as. It was an important time of the day for her, the only time she actually got to ask her goddess for what she wanted most. Head lowered and eyes closed tightly, she spoke softly under her breath, the same impassioned entreaty she delivered up every morning for the last 10 years since coming to the care of the Reverend Mother and the temple in general. Finally, the Reverend Mother declared the time for prayer over and sent the acolytes to receive their daily chores. Dash trotted a bit behind her fellows to the large board indicating every pony's duties for the day. Her heart sank as she saw where her name was, the bell tower. Heaving an exaggerated groan, she gave her powerful wings one quick flap and took off out the door and into the open air. If she was going to be cooped up in that musty tower all day, she was damn sure going to fly out to it. Bell duty was by far her least favourite assignment. She had a sneaking suspicion the priestess who drew up the daily chores was well aware of this, and assigned it to her more often than not on purpose. With a grimace she landed inside the tower and settled next to the bell pull, glaring daggers at it. Glancing up at the sun, she gripped the pull in her four hooves and pulled back, swinging it into the bell. A long tolling note rang out across the courtyard of Celestia's Academy, signalling the beginning of morning classes. 6 more tolls were sounded before she flopped to her stomach with a hefty groan. She gazed down at the young mages in training with no small amount of envy. They were free to come and go as they pleased. Sure, they had to go to classes and do homework and stuff, but many of them got to study what they wanted. They got to practice the sort of things that interested them. Lazily eyeing the courtyard now and shrugging off the urge to nap, she spotted a familiar sight. Twilight Sparkle, or Lady Twilight Sparkle as the clergy were supposed to refer to her as, what with her being their Divine Lady's personal protege and all, was making her way across the courtyard with her usual "I have something sour in my mouth" look on her face. Dash smirked as she watched the other magic students scramble to give the young mare a wide berth. Twilight had visited the temple now and again, usually speaking with the Reverend Mother of all ponies. Dash had asked her adopted mother what they talked about, and the only response she ever got was magic. She'd thought about approaching the intimidating mage on more than one occasion. They certainly had something in common, the way every pony avoided them. Rainbow Dash was insightful enough to realise they were avoided for different reasons, however. Ponies feared Twilight. Some had respect mixed in with the fear, but for the most part it was fear. Dash had heard a little of the story, but never the whole thing, and her mum wasn't volunteering any of it either. Something about a big magical accident in her hometown. Rainbow Dash, on the other hand, was avoided because Ponies looked down on her. She was a brute, a thug, a barbarian, a lesser, uncivilized pony who had no business in the cities, let alone in a temple to the divine mare. Heaving another of her famous sighs, she looked away from the courtyard and slumped down in the tower beside the bell. She knew she could head down inside the bell tower and be more comfortable. There were books and furniture and such on the ground floor, but the only good part of this chore was getting to be up high while the wind was in her face and on her feathers. It's not like she wasn't allowed to fly or anything, but her sister had to be calm and at peace. Flying was rarely a peaceful time for her. Running a hoof through her golden blonde mane, she gazed down at the holy symbol around her neck. Fidgeting her hooves for a moment, she lifted one to rest against the symbol. Closing her eyes, she softly intoned the prayer for a light spell, one of the more basic prayers. She could feel something just at the edge of her mind, a little flutter of something trying to come through, but like always it was whisked away before she could fully grasp the magic. With a growl of frustration, she kicked out with a hind leg, clanging against the bell and setting it to ringing erratically. Eyes wide, she whipped around and steadied it with her forelegs, letting out a heavy breath. Stupid bell, stupid spells, stupid Rainbow Dash. The fur on the back of Dash's neck stood on end at the voice. Flitter, Cloud Kicker's best friend, was hovering in the air behind her with a smirk. Still can't get that light spell, huh? You know, I think one of the filly neophytes could show you how to do it. Rainbow Dash narrowed her eyes. What do you want, Flitter? Nothing really. I just heard the noise and came to see what was wrong. Not surprised to see you up here, though. I know the Reverend Mother lets you stay out of pity, but why does she let you keep pretending to be a real priestess? Every pony knows you're just a barbarian playing dress-up. Dash felt a little shiver run through her body as the other Pegasus badmouthed her. Gritting her teeth, she turned away and began mentally reciting the tenets. Where do you get off thinking it's okay to beat up some pony you don't agree with, huh? Wait, let me guess. She tried giving you advice and you took it the wrong way and punched her, right? Isn't that how this story always goes? Oh, unless some pony asked you what happened, then they were provoking you. The mare landed next to Rainbow Dash, scorn in her eyes. You don't belong here, Rainbow Dash. Dash was through the third tenon and onto the fourth. Her breath was coming quicker and quicker, her head beginning to pound. The fourth. What was the fourth tenet? Her brow furrowed as she tried to recall it. Flitter was a battle cleric. She had been on several skirmishes outside the temple with the training combat mages. Unlike many of Rainbow Dash's fellows, she knew how to handle herself in a fight. She brazenly marched up to her fellow Pegasus and shoved her hard. Are you listening to me? Cloud Kicker's my best friend, you thug. She's the kindest mare in the temple, and you knocked one of her teeth out because she told you you were putting too much salt in the soup. Rainbow Dash staggered back from the shove, wobbling and falling on her haunches, head lowered as her breathing abruptly evened out. Flitter glared harder. I didn't push you that hard, you... Then Dash was vaulting forward faster than the other mare believed possible. She was sitting prone in 1 second and on her hooves lunging the next. Eyes wide, pupils dilated to pinpricks. She was even frothing at the mouth a bit. Flitter leapt back in alarm as Rainbow Dash ferally growled, thrusting her forehooves in quick, rapid jabs. Flitter's eyes grew wider as one of the punches hit the solid masonry of the tower, sending cracks splintering through the stone. It was all the mare could do to bob and weave around the berserk pony. Rainbow Dash, get a hold of yourself! Dash's only response was a bestial growl as she vaulted forward, crushing her hooves into the spot Flitter occupied seconds ago. Flitter knew she couldn't outrun Dash. Her hoof flew to the symbol around her neck as she began to intone a prayer to her goddess. The symbol warmed beneath her hoof as the magic welled up and lanced out, wrapping around Dash's mind. Fall! She expected the command spell to force Dash prone to the floor. Her blood turned to ice in her veins as the raging mare shrugged the magic off as if it weren't cast at all. Rainbow Dash was up on her before she could cast a second spell. The first hoof thrown connected solidly with the side of her muzzle. Flitter heard a sickening crack as white-hot pain lanced from her face and spread throughout the rest of her head and neck. Wobbling drunkenly on her hooves from just one punch, Flitter unsteadily wavered towards the edge of the tower, hoping to take flight and get help. Rainbow Dash's impossibly strong forehooves clamped around her haunches, hauling her into the air and slamming her into the bell with bone-jarring force. Flitter slumped to the ground helplessly as Dash stood over her, breathing heavily, eyes wide and unseeing. The berserker gripped Flitter by the back of her mane, hauling her upright and drawing weak mews of pain from the mare. Dash pulled her foe's head back and slammed it into the bell, drawing another jarring toll. A second, third, and fourth time she hammered Flitter's head into the bell, stopping only when she felt hot, sticky fluid on her hooves. Her eyes snapped back into focus and she looked down at the badly bleeding mare at her hooves. Flitter's forehead was split open and bleeding badly, her muzzle broken. The only sign she still lived was the faint rise and fall of her chest. Rainbow Dash looked on the carnage she'd wrought, then out to the open sky. It'd be easy to just leave, run away and forget about the temple, her mum, her duties, her constant failures, all the other idiot ponies at the temple. Glancing down again at the badly beaten mare, Rainbow Dash sighed. The doors to the infirmary banged open as Dash rushed inside, Flitter secure over her back. "I need help!" Flitter was levitated from her back by one of the healers. "Goddess, what happened to her?" Dash frowned and looked away. I did." The unicorn mare gazed hard at her. "Sit down and don't even think about going anywhere. I'll send for the Reverend Mother. She insists on keeping you around, so you're her problem." Is Flutter going to be alright? Flitter going to be alright? Rainbow Dash moved to follow, but was halted by the healer's firm magical grip on her towel. "She should be, yes. Sit. I don't want you any further in the infirmary than necessary. Half the ponies in here were put here by you." Dash slunk to one of the seats miserably, settling in to wait for the Reverend Mother. Time seemed to pass in a crawl as she stared out the window at the sun drifting lazily across the sky. "Rainbow Dash?" Dash's ears perked as she peered back at the voice. It was Cloud Kicker, all her teeth back in place again. Oh, hey." The other mare smiled awkwardly. "Hey, can I sit?" Rainbow Dash suppressed a groan. "I don't know if that's such a good idea, Cloud Kicker. I'm sorry for hitting you, alright? Now's just not a good time for more criticism or insults." Her fellow Acolyte's smile turned a little sad. "I wanted to apologize. I was having a really rotten day yesterday and I can't stand salty food. I sort of flew off the handle when I came back to the kitchen." Dash felt herself thrown for a loop. The mare she attacked yesterday came to apologize to her? "Flitter, No, you didn't do anything wrong. I punched you because you said my food was too salty. What the hay is wrong with me?" Cloud Kicker frowned as tears began to well in Rainbow Dash's eyes. Tentatively, she laid her hoof across the sobbing mare's back. I don't know, Rainbow Dash. I don't know a lot about the free pony tribes. Could this be some kind of coming-of-age thing?" Rainbow Dash didn't miss that Cloud Kicker used the polite term for the barbarian tribes. I don't know. I don't think so. She sniffed loudly, wiping her tears away. The anger is... I just don't know how to control it. Sometimes I get so mad I just... Cloudkicker's frown turned thoughtful. Have you tried a calm emotions charm? Dash's ears twitched. Mum gave me something like that a long time ago. When I wear it though, everything feels muted, I guess. I don't like it. Well, how about I poke around in the archives and see what I can dig up, huh? I have some friends in the academy too. I'll ask around, see what they can turn up for you, alright? Rainbow Dash stared at Cloudkicker in silent astonishment. Why are you doing this for me? The other mare tilted her head, smiling softly. You're a little rough around the edges, Rainbow Dash, but I can tell you're a good mare at heart. You just need some pony to be your friend. I'd like that pony to be me, if you don't mind. Dash's ears splayed as she stared at Cloudkicker. Tears were welling in her eyes as they darted back and forth. Some pony wanted to be friends with her. No pony wanted to be friends with her. All she could see when she looked at Cloudkicker was the sobbing mare holding her hooves over her bleeding mouth. Shaking her head vigorously, Dash bolted from the infirmary, ignoring the mare's calls. She ran outside, nearly knocking the Reverend Mother on her flank as she did. Ignoring her as well, Rainbow Dash kept running, ignoring the shouts of alarm or anger coming from any pony she nearly bowled over. She didn't stop running until her coat was slick with sweat and her breath was coming in ragged gasps. She found herself in the courtyard behind the temple, rarely used by any pony. The gardens surrounding the beautiful statue of Lady Celestia were tended, more out of habit than anything. Rainbow Dash gazed up at the statue, smiling serenely down at her. Why don't you ever answer me? She glared harder, feeling her anger rise again. I pray to you every morning, the same stupid prayer to the same stupid goddess who never answers. Wrapping a forehoof around her holy symbol, Dash tore it from her neck and flung it at the statue. She barely took note of the magic fading, revealing her cyan blue coat and many-hued mane. I do all the chores they ask me to do. I read all the scripts. I memorize the tenets. Nothing I do is good enough for any of them. I guess it's never good enough for you either. Why can't I summon up a stupid little ball of light? Dash stormed up to the statue, giving it a vicious buck. Why? Another kick. Won't. A third. You. A fourth. Answer me. Her fifth buck brought a sharp crack from the stone as the foreleg on the statue snapped clean off. Dash's eyes went wide as it began to topple. No, 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 no! Flaring her wings, she rose on her hind legs, ready to catch the falling statue of the goddess. A warm golden aura of magic flared to life around it, steadying the statue, then lifting the broken leg and magically mending it. My goodness, you must really hate that statue. Dash looked over her shoulder at the speaker. It was a unicorn mare wearing simple mage's robes. Her coat was a snowy white, while her mane and tail were a shockingly bright pink. Laughter was dancing in her warm violet eyes. Rainbow Dash settled back to all fours, eyeing the newcomer hard. Thanks for the save with the statue, but I'm not in a good mood. Oh, I can see that. Inviting herself to approach, she planted her haunches firmly in the grass, very close to Rainbow Dash. So, what did the masonry do to get you so riled up? Rainbow Dash was furious. At herself, at Flitter, Cloudkicker, her mum, the goddess. She didn't know. She just knew she was angry. But something about this pony was calming. She even cracked a wry smile. It's not the statue, it's who it's a statue of. The unicorn looked up at the statue curiously. Not a big Celestia fan. Wouldn't expect that of one of her priestesses. Dash snorted. If you can call me that. I can't even cast the littlest spell. The prayer's too hard to remember or something. Rainbow Dash narrowed her eyes at the perceived insult. Are you calling me stupid? Are you stupid? Dash blinked at the blunt question. What? No. The unicorn shrugged. Then what do you care what I think? The most important opinion should be your own. The most important opinion of you should be your own. Well, I mean, so no spells coming out, huh? But you know the prayers. You're not fibbing to me, right? Rainbow Dash nodded. I know the stupid prayers. I know every prayer by heart. I stay up all night studying them sometimes. I think you should calm down a little, miss. Dash blinked again, staring at the mare. She took a deep breath. Sorry. You're from the Rainbow tribe, aren't you? Now the Pegasus looked pensive. I was. What brings a mare from the proudest of the free pony tribes to seek the life of a priestess? Somehow talking to this mare was draining all the anger from Rainbow Dash's body, just leaving a bone-numbing weakness. She settled heavily into the grass beside the mare. It's a long story. You have some place to be? Dash snorted a little in amusement. I guess not. It's not even that exciting of a story. I had a disagreement with my parents and was exiled. The Reverend Mother found me and brought me to the temple. That's it. The unicorn tilted her head curiously. I thought they cut the wings off their exiles. Rainbow Dash frowned. They do? Sympathy welled up in the mare's eyes. I see. I'm glad the Reverend Mother was able to heal them. You and me both, sister. It took a while, but I got back in the air like they were never hurt to begin with. I've been living in the temple ever since. But you can't cast even the simplest of spells. Frustration flashed across the young Pegasus's face. No, I feel the magic. It's right there at the tip of my hooves, but it sounds like your faith is lacking. Dash's wings flared. What? I say my prayers every morning. The unicorn looked away, nodding slowly. I believe you, Rainbow Dash. I have a different take on clerical magic if you'd like to hear it. Rainbow Dash calmed quickly. I guess. Well, I know many ponies refer to clerical magic as divine magic. Personally, I never liked that term. I call it faith magic. Dash shrugged. What's the difference? An excellent question. The very word divine implies reliance on a higher power, the divinity. Let me ask you this. Do you think there were no magical healers in the days before Celestia? Rainbow Dash frowned. I dunno. I never thought about it. Most don't. The answer is that there were, of course. Ponies have been casting faith spells even longer than they have arcane spells. Some had faith in pagan deities like the goddess of the sky or god of the earth. Some had faith in concepts, a strong belief in the very nature of good or evil. Some simply had faith in themselves. The young priestess in training was quiet as she digested this information. So I can't cast spells because I don't really believe in Lady Celestia? Well, I'd hope you believe she exists at least. She's sitting up there in her tower over there all the time. Between you and me, she never was the biggest fan of the whole worship me as a goddess business. Most of the temple seem to practice. Dash's eyes went wide. She's not? Nope. She's just a regular pony like the rest of us. Maybe a bit on the giant side, and definitely on the old side. But at her heart she's just a simple mare. A stage magician who got better and better at her art to the point where, poof, all of a sudden she's raising the sun and unseating horrible monstrous despots, freeing the kingdom from the grips of chaos. Rainbow Dash shook her head slowly, trying to process all this information. Then why does she let the temple, exist? They're all over the kingdom. Well, sometimes a little white lie can be used to bring folks together. If every pony feels like a benevolent, all-knowing, all-seeing mirror is watching over them, they all feel a little better at night. It gives the ponies a reason to come together every week and spend time with each other. The clerics are always going out doing good among their fellow ponies. Is it really hurting any pony to believe that Celestia is a goddess? Dash frowned. It might be hurting Lady Celestia. She might get lonely sometimes with every pony treating her like they do. The unicorn's eyes looked sad for a moment. Yes, I suppose it does hurt her. But she's a strong old mare. No need to worry about her. We're talking about you, however. Do you enjoy being a member of the church? Dash blinked at the abrupt shift in the conversation. Well, sure. I mean, it's boring sometimes, but I really do like it when I get to help ponies who need it. You believe in the 6 tenets of harmony at the very least, do you not? Rainbow Dash considered for a moment. I think I do. They're good rules that any pony should live by, don't you think? The unicorn smiled. I do think. So maybe you could try putting your faith in the tenets of harmony. Dash tilted her head. Would that work? The mare shrugged, her smile never fading. It couldn't hurt to try, could it? Well, no, I guess not. Just food for thought, Miss Rainbow Dash. I hope I've helped at least a little. Dash was nodding slowly. Yeah, I think you did. Thanks. She rose as the unicorn started walking off. Hey, wait, I never got your name. Her smile turning mischievous now. The unicorn's body was bathed in a golden glow as she grew more than double her size. Huge majestic winds fanning at her sides. I think you know who I am, Rainbow Dash. With a wink, Celestia vaulted into the air, gliding smoothly back towards her tower, leaving a stunned Rainbow Dash to stare after her in shock. The Reverend Mother peeked her way through Celestia's chambers with a sigh. Honestly, milady, would it kill you to allow a maid in here once in a while? Celestia didn't look up from the old book she had opened on her desk. Rolling her eyes, the mare made her way to the lady's side, eyeing the numerous plates stuffed to the side of the desk, with bits of chocolate frosting and crumbs remaining. How long have you been eating nothing but cake? Delicately shutting the tomb, Celestia raised her head with a patient smile. Is there something I can do for you, Morning Glory? Now the formidable mare's countenance turned hesitant. It's your daughter. Yes, there was another fight. She's getting worse, Lady Celestia, not better. I don't know what to do with her. Folding a wing over the head of her church compassionately, Celestia walked her to the balcony to enjoy the setting sun. Tell me, Morning Glory, have you heard of a small rural village named Ponyville? Morning Glory frowned as she considered the question. I think so. A small farming community near Canterlot? That's the one. It's recently come to my attention that they lack a temple in their town, and have recently put it in a request to have one built there. They've offered to do the building, if you can provide the clergy. The Reverend Mother nodded slowly. Well, of course. We're always happy to go wherever we're needed, milady. Wonderful, and I have just the mare in mind to head up this new temple. Celestia walked Morning Glory from the tower and back downstairs, her copy of Predictions and Prophecies forgotten for now. Rainbow Dash character sheet. Barbarian 1, Cleric 4, Strength 14, Dexterity 16, Constitution 14, Intelligence 10, Wisdom 13, Charisma 15. Special abilities. Barbarian Rage. Dash gets +4 Strength and Con, but -2 AC for 1 round per level of Barbarian once per day. Special items. Holy Symbol. Rainbow Dash's holy symbol alters her coat and mane colours to match those of the other disciples of the sun. Author's note. Rainbow Dash, the Holy Mare.